Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today I've got a first impressions video for you. Not an unboxing because unfortunately the pen here doesn't come in a box. This is a Hongdian 1841. Love the colour of this. I think it's a really nice burgundy type colour. So join me now down on the mat. We'll take a look at the pen, take a look at the ink I'm going to use. We'll do a writing sample, then I'll give you my first impressions. Welcome down to the mat. No unboxing of this one because it just comes in this plastic wrapper. So let's jump straight in. Let's ease this out. There we go. So this is the Hongdian 1841. I think this is a really nice classic looking pen, isn't it? I like the colour. That's going to give me a lot of options with different reds that I've got and some crimsons maybe. Let's take a walk around the body. So at the top, it's got a slight dome on it. Then it comes down and then tapers up until it gets really to the bottom of the clip. Bottom of the clip, it's then the same width down to the band. The clip, it's a nice gold colour. And how springy is it? Well, I can't even shift that. Doesn't bother me because I very rarely put it in my shirt pocket, but it could be something that causes a problem for you. So the cap band, this gold colour. There we go, let's spin this around. So here we've got Hong, then Dian, and then 1841. Just got to take a quick look at this. I'm afraid old man's eyes makes it very difficult to actually read what's on there. So on having a closer look, it says Lan Tian Hongdian 1841. Below that cap band, there's some more of the plastic material, and then that tapers down very quickly to the body. The body, again to my eye, it's about the same width until about halfway down. Then we start to taper in until we come to that domed end. As I say, it's a very classic looking pen. Let's take the cap off. So we need, there's half, there's 1, 1.5, 2, a smidge over 2 turns to take the cap off. That reveals a section. The section, it's in the same colour as the rest of the body. I like it when it all matches like this. It seems a fairly straight section. We'll take a closer look in a second. I'll turn it over and that reveals this nib. It's a 2-tone nib. I do like 2-tone nibs. Let's take a closer look. So the nib, we've got 1997 at the top. Below that we've got a logo. Then we've got Lan Tian, Li Shui, Zi Zhang, and then the letter F for fine. I hope I pronounced those Chinese words correctly. This is one thing I am now going to say I'm disappointed. When I ordered the pen, it was advertised as a medium nib. That's why I got it. But what's come has got a fine nib. Now, yes, it may be okay, but I don't like not receiving what I order because I do prefer the wider nibs. Hopefully this nib won't be too bad. All my other Hongdian nibs, they're not too bad. They actually write really nicely. We'll see soon enough, won't we? Just going to swap this over so we can do some size comparisons. So the first 2 pens I brought in. These are my standard pens that I use for size comparisons. The Pilot Metropolitan and the Lamy Safari. Looking at them with the caps on, the Metropolitan and this Hongdian, they're about the same size. And shape-wise as well, they look very similar. I would say the Hongdian slightly wider. The Safari, it's another standard pen, again very similar in size. Let's take off the caps. What I've tried to do here is line the pens up so the top of the nibs are all in a line. Here, the Hongdian, that's definitely the smaller of the 3 pens. Only by a little bit from that Metropolitan, and you can see a marked difference with the Lamy. The nib on the Hongdian looks like it's a number 6 size nib. Hopefully that means that later on I can put in a broad nib. Let's post the pens. Posted, the Hongdian ever so slightly longer than the Metropolitan, but still shorter than the Safari. I'm going to now swap the pens. I'm going to fetch in some that are in roughly the same price range. The 2 pens I've just brought in, we've got a TWSBI Eco, 44 Australian dollars. I've got a Moonman S5, 37 Australian dollars. And the Hongdian, that cost me 40 Australian dollars. So as I say, they're all roughly in the same ballpark price-wise, but look at a difference. Now, these are all posted at the moment, and that TWSBI, that's really knocking the other two out of the park, isn't it? Whereas that S5 just looks so minute compared to the Hongdian. Let's take the caps off. Unposted, the Hongdian is now the smallest of the bunch. Looks minute compared to the Eco. And even that S5, that Moonman S5, that's slightly beating it out. I like to see these size comparisons because I find it's interesting because it lets you compare bodies. It also lets you compare the sizes and the nibs at the same time. Let's pop the caps on. With the cap on, I've got to be honest, they all look virtually the same size to me. Maybe the Moonman S5 here, ever so slightly shorter, and the TWSBI, we're talking maybe a millimetre or two longer, but for all intents and purposes, to my eye, they look the same size. I'm now going to step away from the desk. I'm going to give the pen a clean. When I come back, we'll look at the ink, do a writing sample, then I'll give you my first impressions. So here I am back. The ink we're going to use today is by Diamine, and it's classic red. I thought we've got a classic looking pen in a red colour, let's have a classic looking ink in a red colour. When I fetch the pen in, I actually think this is a fairly close match. I think this is going to look quite nice. I've had this ink, I'm actually going to say about a year. I've never had it in a pen yet, so I'm looking forward to getting into this pen to seeing how it writes. Move the card out of the way. Fetch in Quickie Koala. He's going to be today's ink holder. And here comes Classic Red. Let's take the top off. I'm hoping that the pen section will fit through there so I can actually put ink in. Okay, let's take this pen apart. One of the things I like with these pens, they come with a converter already. There's a converter there. We've got Hongdian on there. So it's actually branded. Let's make sure that's all the way down. In goes the pen. And up comes the converter. So on one fill, we're good 2/3 to 3/4 full, so I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to wipe off the nib and let's pop this pen back together again. There we go. Right, let's move the ink out of the way and fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we go. This is a black and red A5 notebook and it uses the Oxford Optic paper. Let's do some writing. So we have here a Hongdian, 1841, with the fine nib, and it costs 40 Australian dollars. As I said, I'm disappointed that the nib it came with was a fine, but to be honest, I don't mind the line on this. It looks not too bad, doesn't it? The ink, Diamine, Classic Red. Let's do our drying times. So we got immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, finally 1 minute. After a minute, we've still got a little bit of a smudge coming off. Going to move the mic down to the paper so you can hear the pen writing. So this to me, it's another nice nib from Hongdian. It's nice and smooth. I'm not feeling any scratchiness when I'm writing. There is a slight amount of feedback, so you can definitely feel it's tactile. You can feel it moving over the paper. I like that because that's how, well, yes, you know you're writing because you can see the words coming out. But I also think the feel is nice. It's all part of the experience, isn't it? Let's take a look at line variation. So here, that's just gentle. With some pressure. Then some S's. So although the nib doesn't feel stiff, I'm not really seeing much in the way of line variation coming out there. Let's do my scribbles. So this is here to try and simulate some fast writing. I'm not very good at writing fast, which is why I don't do it. Here we go. You know, that ink flow, that's keeping up really, really well. So what are my first impressions of this pen? As I've said earlier on, I'm disappointed because I ordered a medium and received a fine. Saying that, it writes nicely. I enjoy the way it writes. I enjoy the way it feels in my hand. When I'm writing unposted, just about the right fit. It will post and doesn't feel too bad, but as I say, normally I write unposted anyway, and I'd be happy with this. I like the material. I like the way it looks. I actually like the way it feels as well. It feels smooth, but with a little bit of, again, tactileness to it. I keep using that word tactile, don't I? All in all, a pleasant experience. Nice looking pen. I enjoy the way it looks. I enjoy the match we've got with the ink. I think that ink and that pen really do look nice together. Not seeing much in the way of shading. To be honest, wouldn't expect that, but it's still worth looking for. All in all, really nice. I think it's going to be a good addition to my collection. I can see this being one of those pens that it's constantly inked up with a nice red ink. So it's my first impression of the Hongdian 1841. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What do you think of this pen? I love the colour of it. I think that's really attractive. It looks really nice and classic. Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit that thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.